everybody. It's another exciting edition of the Sports Hole. You know why? Because we had the NFL draft, and we got so many hot fucking takes.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Who won the draft? Who lost the draft?
We won't know for 5 years.
We'll get to that. Yeah, we won't know for 5 years.
You'll have an idea.
You know what?
You'll have an idea after 2.
I'll tell you this: Houston Texans won the draft last year. We can say that, right?
I think it's fair to say. I mean, if you got
they still
Stroud
won,
and Stroud performed the way he did, then hell yeah, you absolutely.
What do you mean they
did.
got lucky? They won the draft, lucky or not.
Yeah,
they
That's
won.
fair.
We'll talk draft in a minute. As you can
Yeah.
see behind me, though, I got a big pile of betting back here that was for
Did
my
you know when
boy
you put your
Maddie.
thumbs up?
Maddie was supposed to be here right now,
I remember you guys talking about that.
I'll be
on
there
last
soon.
episode. We
I
show.
promise.
but what
I'll
was
be there.
Maddie doing instead? When
I can't
called
talk
him?
about it.
Can I talk about it, Maddie?
I don't know, man.
I
I'm
don't know
Maddie,
names.
Maddie, you talked a little bit on my stream, didn't you? I don't remember. I was kind of
Yeah,
drunk.
but the sports hall is much bigger than UFL
That's-
gym.
That's
So this is fuck it. Why not?
Well, I'm Sunday night, I think he was originally supposed to come down, but then he kind of moved it to Monday. I'm like, where are you? What's going on? Just radio silence. Fucking typical Goldberg getting out of his shit. And come to find out, he was cornholing someone's grandmother.
I wasn't cornholing.
attaboy, Maddie.
I don't know. It was we'll see what happens. Very nice lady. I felt like I was doing my civic duty. We had a nice date, and then things kind of happened. We tried to watch Dune. That's her favorite movie. I wasn't feeling it.
The 1980s version?
No, the one with Timothy, whatever.
Oh,
and
okay.
Jason. After about a half hour, I was like, look, I gotta tap out. But I told her I'd finish it. I promised her I would. And I was like,
Did you keep your vows to finish Dune?
I haven't yet. I said, you want to come over and watch Dune after we go out again. I think that's code word for SEX.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was code word for OTPHJ.
Netflix
So,
and chill is like,
this was a legit grandmother too, right, Maddie? Was this your first?
yes. But she's very young and beautiful.
How do you feel about that milestone?
I don't know. I think it's I'm getting up there in age, so it's all good. And like I don't want to give her age, but it's it's not like she's 80s or 60s.
But Maddie, this is important. Are you prepared to be a step grandfather?
Probably not.
What kind of lessons are you going to teach these?
I feel like being a step
grandchildren?
grandfather is being better than being a stepfather.
I just hope she doesn't listen, because some of the girls I've talked to in the last few months, one girl Googled like everything about me.
That's
like
weird.
everything.
Well, you're being very respectful.
And then like 2 years ago, she's like, no, she said, I did a podcast years ago, like 5 years ago. I said I didn't like Amy Schumer on a tiny little podcast. And she's like, oh, you don't like Amy Schumer? And I was like, how the fuck do you know that? This girl watched everything that I could be associated with for whatever reason. I'm pretty boring.
Well,
except for my football takes. That's it.
When you make these appearances, it gets out it's out there for the world. I don't know if
She made me
I doubt.
Can I show you the meme she sent me?
Oh, she's sending you memes, Maddie?
Oh,
she made one.
She made one just for you?
This is adorable.
Yeah,
she
learned how to make a meme for you?
This is love right now.
Yeah.
Well, she got stood up by the first date before me. So she's like, I sent the guy a meme, and she's like, I'm thinking of making a business where I send memes to guys who ghost girls. So this is wild. But this will show you this is like serious bragging on my part. Are you ready?
We're ready.
Okay, I sent it to you guys. But you guys can't say what it says. You got to just keep it between you two.
You've already shown this to me, but
I did. All right. Well, Jim will get a kick at it.
Did you send it in the text? There it is.
Let's just say she accused Maddie of a little elder abuse, if you know what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah. Just kidding. It's weird that 51 is really not even that old.
That's a good
Well,
meme.
we're
That's a
gonna
good
hang
meme.
out. We're gonna hang out again on Friday, so I don't think she's upset.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
Treat
we'll
her with
see. I
respect.
think it's a nice little,
She better be worth it, Maddie. You dipped out of my stream early for her.
That's true.
Just blew off a whole weekend of fun with
listen,
the Lukester
I
here.
learned in college, hoes before bros. I'm sorry. Didn't you ever
It's
learn
not the
that?
saying, Maddie. That's not the
Hoes
saying.
before bros.
No. I
But
remember.
I think I'm going to tell my therapist on Thursday that I have a sex addiction.
Yeah, just we got Mick Jagger on our stream now.
As the great Will Ferrell said in Blades of Glory, he's like, I'm a sex addict. It's my cross to bear. I feel you,
Fair.
Will. One of the great characters, Chad Michaels, is figure skating.
Chaz Michaels. That's great. All right, guys. So we did have an NFL draft. Do
There
you
was a
have any
draft.
hot takes? I think there was only a few things that were really sort of eye-popping. I do think this NFL season is going to be great.
Yeah.
A lot of storylines.
A lot of quarterbacks.
Maddie, how are you feeling about this draft?
I mean, as I get older, and I see so many busts and then guys that you don't think are gonna hit. I can't. I'm more of into the watching the games, but it was fun to watch with my nephew because he, as a 6-year-old new football fan, he likes the clothes and the excitement and seeing the guys come out and be cocky and ready to go. And it's just sad because they're so they say the right things. They're ready to get in the playbook, ready to get to work. But you know that probably there'll be 4 or 5 real impact players and then a lot of busts and then a lot of mediocre players. And it just seems so you're so into it, but then next year we'll have the same excitement.
Yeah, because the draft is all about hope, Maddie.
Yeah, it's hope.
It is. Yes.
Especially for them bottom dwellers, too.
Yeah.
Jim, you got any big takeaways?
I didn't really know what the Falcons were trying to do, and then it kind of made a huge run on quarterbacks. Sean Payton's comments on Bo Nix are kind of hilarious, where he
What
said
did he say?
He said he had a bunch of stuff in his backpack that made Sean Payton sure that he was going to be a good prospect, like playbook and this other quarterback materials.
Oh God.
Sean Payton's getting ridiculous.
I thought the Lions did a pretty damn good job, Luke. I thought your Lions did a really good job.
I was happy.
I also just love seeing anybody that's actually there that gets drafted to the team that's hosting the draft.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. And who got was it the Bears that got the Iowa punter? Good for them.
Yeah. Caleb Williams said to him, "You're not going to be needed a lot." He tweeted, he texted him.
I did see that.
One thing about the Detroit one too is Detroit is they just love Brad Holmes. So anybody he's picking, they're just gonna love.
Also, all the guys in the Detroit War Room wearing the Dan Campbell jerseys. That was great. That was great.
The Falcons, I think what they were doing is they did some research and they're like, Michael Penix is a steal. He's a winner. He's the real deal. I know we got Kirk Cousins, but we can't pass this guy up because we actually think he's going to be Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be, even if he's like Drew Brees or Lamar Jackson, he's going to be a superstar in the NFL, and we don't want to pass this guy up. And it puts Kirk Cousins in a very weird position because Kurt is essentially signing probably his last long-term deal. He probably thinks he's safe for 4 years.
It's probably more of a 2-year deal.
Yeah. Because I think they get an opt-out too, but even though there's $100 million guaranteed.
Yeah, but it's just weird because you're the guy, and now you got a guy breathing down your neck. And now everybody, if you have a slow start, 2 weeks in, everybody's like, Penix, let's see what he can do. It's a weird place for a veteran to be put in my opinion. It's bizarre.
Well, it's about time it happened to him. Didn't he do it to RG3?
Well, they were drafted the same year.
Even worse.
Yeah, but it was
RG3.
No, I don't know. I mean, because Kirk Cousins has earned like 10 years in the league of like if he's going to get that contract. But the way the NFL works is like, hey, man.
Also, I guess if they don't like any quarterbacks in next year's class or the upcoming classes, might as well get your guy now.
Yeah.
Because like as good as Kirk Cousins is, and I think he's really good, he's still like he's 34, 35.
Yeah. Well,
coming off an Achilles. Like
this is by far his last contract.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just they signed him for so much money. It's just like, oh, well, we don't need a quarterback. We got that problem solved. But if they think Penix is a real perennial type guy that can change a franchise, I'm all for it. And I believe in Penix.
I love Michael Penix.
I'm just surprised.
Do you think they just didn't think he was going to be on the board at this time?
Probably not.
Because they didn't even like work him out or anything. Like they didn't like there was no plan for this.
Somebody in the war room was like, we got to get this guy. Like, this is the best guy in the draft. This is like the home run to hit. Because sometimes like look, Pat Mahomes was drafted 10th. There's a funny thing on Facebook. It's from the Chiefs Facebook. The year they drafted Mahomes. Every Chiefs fan was saying he was going to be a bust. So nobody knows. But somebody was like, this is the home run.
Yeah.
And if you believe it, go for it.
Yeah,
go big.
I don't
interesting. Go ahead, Jim.
Sorry, I was gonna say I do think though, like my one criticism with them doing that is I think they probably still could have traded back and got him.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. Nervous of losing.
I think so.
You're so nervous of not. If you think that's your home run guy, why lose him?
If they think he's the home run guy, yeah, go for it.
It's weird because if Cousins was already there, I think, and he'd been established, and it wouldn't be such a big deal. But as far as like having a succession plan, I mean, Cousins is going to be 36 before the season even starts. But to have this where Cousin is not established coming off a major injury, it's going to be weird. So I don't know. Hopefully everything works out for them.
Yeah, like if Cousins had already been there for a year or two.
Yeah, if he'd been there and like, okay, he's the starter, can take us.
Because the way I've heard people describe it is like, imagine if last year the Jets took a quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not to the level of like he's not Aaron Rodgers
is going to be the starter. Yeah, that's the difference,
But also with Aaron Rodgers, they're also drafting a quarterback to be like, Aaron, are you cool with this? Will you help us develop him? They would probably ask him before the draft, like, how do you feel? Like, we're not going to bench you, but how do you feel about developing a Michael Penix?
Well, he might just say, I'm not going to develop him, but you can draft
Well, some guys like to, and some guys
Favre
won't.
was like not developing Rodgers.
No.
Yeah. It sounded like Rodgers didn't want to develop Love.
No, and you can ask Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes says Alex Smith worked very hard with me, like told me everything he knew.
Yeah, I don't think Rodgers developed Love in his personal life either. I feel like
he got him to learn it
devoid of love,
conspiracy theories.
I mean love from the heart, Maddie, not the QB love. Anyway, weird draft though too, because we had like all these a lot of quarterbacks were transfers. A lot of them were older than usual because of the COVID year. So you had Penix, it was like 23.
He's 24.
24.
He's 24.
Jaden Daniels is like 23, 24 too.
How old is JJ McCarthy? 21?
He's 21. Him and Drake May are both like 21.
What do you think of that pick?
I think, JJ, I think is great, but I think he's
got to develop.
Right.
Is he a gunslinger? That's a gunslinger team.
We don't know. He wasn't asked to do that at Michigan because Michigan had a well-rounded offense and a much run-heavy offense. When he was forced to make plays, he made plays for sure.
But that's a
as
team
far as
that
having to do that
ball
every down, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I wished he would have went to some place where he could have developed. It didn't happen.
Well, they're going to ask for him to play,
Luckily, he's got weapons all around him to hopefully make it a little easier.
He's got a lot of weapons.
So we'll see. I mean, to me, he would benefit from watching for a year, but he's going to get right into it. Then this is a good situation, though, I guess.
All right, give me a guy that's going to be a hit, and give me a guy that's a bust.
Jim, go.
Okay, hit will be. I mean, I'm fully Caleb Williams. I'm fully on. I think he's actually going to be a stud in the NFL.
Uh,
I'm on Caleb Williams. Bust, Bo Nix. Easy.
I'm going to go bust.
If we're
Drake
just going
May.
quarterbacks,
Drake May is going to be a bust. I'm going to say Jane Daniels is going to be a hit. I think Caleb Williams will be a hit too, but that's kind of a given. But I think Jaden Daniels, he moved up.
I'll go Jaden Daniels bust.
Wow. Okay.
Too small for the style of play. He's gonna get hurt.
Okay.
He's gonna get hurt. Like I think he'll be great when he plays. He's gonna get hurt.
All right. Did you guys see the Raiders guy playing solitaire in the war room?
I did see that.
Yeah, some camera caught it. It was just like so Raidery. It was so funny because it was just like.
Did he get fired?
I don't know if he got fired, and maybe who cares, because you're probably just sitting there all day. You have already done most of the work you're going to do probably before you even go into the room.
That goes back to old Howard Stern when they caught Gary Baba Booey playing solitaire and they turned into 40 minutes of content.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of the internet did anyways.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was funny because a lot of people weren't very happy with the Raiders drafts anyways. So
Did you guys did you guys see the interviews with Xavier Legette?
I did not.
The receiver who went to Carolina. Maybe the most country boy that I've ever heard speak. He has like the best accent.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look
it's
it
like
up.
A thick Southern country accent. Look up Xavier Legette. He's from South Carolina.
Maddie, what about
what
your
do you guys think about
Spencer
Brock?
Rattler?
I don't understand why they drafted Bowers as a tight end. They drafted the other guy as a tight end, Mayer, last year, I think, in the first round. So they drafted 2 tight ends.
I guess with Bowers, you kind of just go like best available because you can kind of still probably play him at receiver.
He's kind of a hybrid guy. You can play both.
Yeah.
Who's going to be quarterback for them this year?
Well, probably Aiden O'Connell for now.
It's Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew.
Ooh.
A battle of the stash.
And I like Gardner Minshew. I like him better, actually. I thought he had a good year last year.
Yeah.
He always finds the field, too.
Just that kind of guy.
He's a solid fucking backup.
Maddie, were you excited for Spencer Rattler?
Where did he get drafted?
I think he's going to New Orleans.
He is. He's going to New Orleans.
I don't think he doesn't have what it takes, unfortunately.
What makes you say that?
It's a little soft.
You still think like I don't think you saw like it. I think he proved it in South Carolina that he's not soft.
Well, he was better the year before when they were a better team. He had much better games, but I think he's a little undersized and a little soft. But he does come. He was the #1 high school recruit. He's probably very humble. That quarterback show didn't do him justice. He looked like a fool on that, but he was 18.
I did hear some people in like the sport NFL news cycle were just like, yeah, there were a lot of teams that like watched that show and didn't want him based off of just that show when he was 18.
That's hard because you do grow up, but he was a total jackass.
Actually, in the show, I think he was 17.
Well, he was embarrassing himself. But when you're 17, I would have embarrassed myself too, for sure.
What do you mean? You're still embarrassing yourself.
All the stories I just told you, I probably did.
You guys watching any NBA yet?
Oh, I got a little more games on right now, buddy.
I got a little bit.
All YouTube TV. I got the 2 hockey games on. I got the 2 basketball games going.
I am loving YouTube TV with the cross sports.
I got the 4
boxes.
Screens going
it's
right now.
So good. It's so good, man.
Are the Knicks going to put the Sixers out of their misery already?
Yes.
The Knicks are up by 1 going into the 4th.
And it looks like the Pacers could end the Bucks tonight as well.
Well, they will.
They will.
Injured.
No Giannis, no Dame.
Another Doc Rivers shitty playoff.
Rivers. Somehow, I know it's funny is because of the injuries, they'll bring Doc Rivers back. But God, what a fucking hopeless situation.
For some reason, they
always
just
find a
keep
job.
giving them jobs. They keep, and contenders too.
Yeah.
It's
Oh my
not like they
God.
give him shitty jobs. They give him like some of the better teams, and then he does nothing with them. And then he goes to another contender. The series have been great though. The hockey's been good. The basketball's been good. It's been a very good playoffs.
Well, we did have, I mean, the LeBron is done for the year.
Yes.
KD's
Unfortunately.
done.
But
LeBron.
here's the good news. If his son comes and plays for the Lakers next year, they are going to win 5 championships in a row with LeBron and his son.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
You heard it first.
How much money did you put on that?
All my money.
Okay, good.
Bronny is going to tear up the NBA. Hot take.
I like that he's basically foregoing, because he's sort of in the transfer portal too, and now a lot of people believe he's just going to jump into the draft.
Yeah.
Basically leveraging his name and his dad for a draft pick.
What do you? Go ahead, Luke. Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anybody will actually use LeBron. Everybody's saying he's going to opt out.
Yeah.
But mainly just because he can get more leverage with the team as far as getting more of a roster he likes and getting his son potentially picked. So
Duquesne is the spy here.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
To me,
Ohio.
the Lakers, they do need a better. I hope they don't go chasing names. This is what everybody does. They go chasing names, and they like the
No, you got to
Suns.
develop.
Suns are just fucking god awful. They got nobody around them.
You got to win the draft too. Like the Warriors, when they drafted Steph, and then they got the other kid,
Clay and Draymond. You know,
yeah,
like,
you know they hit with 3 home runs, and that's how you become a really good team. I mean, the Celtics, Tatum,
Thunder, maybe the Thunder.
and then you kind of put free agents around those guys, but you got to build. I think you got to hit home runs in the draft, and you got to get good picks.
well, they would have
I
to
don't
get
know.
just good other role players, like when they had like Alex Caruso a few years ago, and they were able to win a championship.
They make a lot of mistakes, but I look, LeBron does run the show, so it's like if LeBron wants a guy, they're there. If he doesn't like a guy, they're out. It's as simple as that.
And maybe he, I don't know. They could.
So Ingram, you know, they got rid of Ingram because they want to get Anthony Davis. They got rid
that
of
whole
Caruso.
squad. They had like Julius Randle. They had Ingram. They had Josh Hart and Kuzma. You know, the guys that would be great role players now.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a championship team, but probably still need AD even with those dudes. But I don't know. I think also too is that the other teams are just getting too good. Like the Nuggets.
Could he go back to Cleveland if he opts out and then his son plays at Duquesne? Because that's probably close to Cleveland. Maybe he'll go back to Cleveland part 3.
That'd be funny.
Why not, right?
Why not?
There's 2 things I want to ask you guys. So I don't think Cleveland has won a playoff series without LeBron since he left the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But also, does this I've seen it around, this NBA playoffs kind of feels like a passing of the torch from the old guard to the new.
Yeah.
Because I saw the stat. Do you guys know the last playoff without LeBron, Kevin Durant, or Steph Curry?
In the second round?
Yeah.
I'm going to say 2006.
Close, Maddie. 2005.
Holy
Look
shit.
at Matty G.
Yeah, LeBron, this is only the second time he's lost in the first round of the playoffs, too.
Yeah.
And if they had lost that playing game and ended up playing these Oklahoma City, I think they could have beat them, too. It wouldn't surprise me if they were the second or third best team in the West.
Would you say that KD's like aura, his shine, his stardom, his intimidation is over? Like nobody's afraid to play a KD team?
Well, it's like the thing is KD's like a good second or third. I mean, he's a great player, but he's not the competitor these guys are. And he's, you know, that's not much of a team there besides their top 3 in Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, they went out fast.
I mean, it's no different than what the Brooklyn Nets were a couple years ago.
And people thought like, oh my God, hang up four rings for Brooklyn, and they leave with 0. And now they're a mess.
I think the Cavs actually would be a good option for LeBron. I think,
Yeah.
with Mobley, and if Mitchell wants to stay, which I don't think he does, that could be a good to see if you got a good playoff team already. Like it's a good playoff team,
And
and
the
they might
East is
they might
weaker.
win this series. You go in there,
Yeah.
I don't know if you win. Yeah, in the East is weaker. That's an option. I don't think it's going to happen because I think LeBron's pretty happy living his life in Los Angeles right now. But who knows? We'll see. I'm just happy for every.
You know, I've been really enjoying watching Tyler Hero for all the wrong reasons. He is such a buffoon.
Yeah,
He has all these moves. He's got all the sizzle, but no steak. He can do all these cool moves, but he just doesn't score. Like, like he scores, but he doesn't. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
He looks cool. He looks like he's one of the boys, whatever. But God, does he not play like to actually help his team win?
yeah.
It's not like he's a selfish player. He just there's something about him that I don't know. It's just bizarre to watch.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy for sure. Timberwolves fans might be a little upset that their coach is down. Chris Finch got hurt the other night when a player ran into him, and now his patella's all messed up. He's got to get surgery, and at this point, it's not clear if he's even going to be on the sideline going forward.
I think NBA coaching is the least important now.
You think so?
I don't know. I think, it's more of like a game plan they'll be able to do. And then it's like, okay, there's adjustments that, you can always tell the assistant coach to do.
Mhm.
So there's that. But I think like NFL head coaching in game is so much more important than NBA. I think NBA, usually the best team will probably win for the most part, the best game plan. If
Mhm.
that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
think they'll be okay, and they're a fucking good team.
Mhm.
I didn't know much about them.
This is it's exciting. This is like the new guard. I think they can beat okay. I can't this series between the Timberwolves and the Nuggets to me could almost be what the NBA championship.
It could be.
is
It's
looking
really
on
good.
TV. And
Yeah.
and the Nuggets are going to be tested because the Lakers played them hard every game, pretty much.
They did that. It looked so much like last year too. Like the Lakers played well and just
Couldn't finish.
not enough,
No.
unfortunately. But yeah, he's not going to be there, so we'll see. But I'm excited. I just don't want anything to mar this series because I think it's going to be a great series. And
Agreed.
we'll see. And
Absolutely,
Anthony Edwards
yeah.
has become a beast too. So
Also,
Yeah.
Timberwolves fans should be very happy. This was their first series win since they made the conference championship in 2004.
ooh,
They've been one of the worst franchises in sports that I can think of in the last 30, 40 years where they have one conference finals with Kevin Garnett and I think Marbury
Yep.
yeah,
in 30 years. Basically, maybe made the playoffs 5 out of 30 years, maybe.
This is only the second time they've ever won in the first round
Yeah, so it's a fucked
in franchise
franchise.
history.
yeah. I mean,
It's one of the
Anthony
worst.
Edwards is Anthony Edwards is only like 22. He looks like he's 30.
Yeah.
Like
And he's
he just
talking
looks like
shit
such
to
a man
KD.
amongst boys his age.
Where'd he go to college?
Georgia, just for like a year, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's kind of like there's all these like Kentucky guys that didn't really make a dent in college, and now in the pros they're all really good, and that's kind of Calipari's thing, like one and done, losing.
Yeah,
I don't know, Matty. If you look at him now, he's hitting the transfer portal hard.
Well,
Oh,
my
is he? He's
guy,
a
my
changed
guy's
man?
going to
He's
USC.
going crazy in the transfer portal.
He's a change.
He's getting a
man.
shitload of players in the transfer portal.
I bet.
Well, he was embarrassed, and when he's got a lot of pride, and I've been following Calipari since he coached UMass and the Nets, and the girl just texted me. I hope she's not listening. Are we live?
No, we're not live, man.
Maddie, we're always
have
live.
That.
Thank God she texted me about steps.
What about like getting your steps in?
I told her I was addicted to steps. One of my conversations with
Like
her.
walking?
So, yeah.
What do you mean you're addicted to steps?
I count my steps on my phone. Like there's an app of steps. So
Like, I thought you were too afraid to go too far from home in case you have to shit.
well, I do about 12,000 steps a day.
12,000?
Yeah.
Maddie,
Attaboy,
that's
Matty.
Three and a half
that's like
miles.
6 miles.
No, it's about 4 miles.
I
5
know.
miles. I
5
walk a
miles?
lot during the day, or else my body tightens up really bad too.
Okay. Well, good.
So,
I'm glad she's holding you accountable.
so she sent me a screenshot of her 5,000 steps,
Oh,
and she's like, "I got it, dude." There's a guy, you know that writer David Sedaris. He
yeah.
did 90,000 steps in a day,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My
40
wife
miles.
loves him. So we listened to him on their way to
Yeah, I
LA
didn't
a lot.
believe
And
it.
he was like talking about how he got addicted and he'd go pick
Yeah.
up trash on the highway just
I know,
as an
I know.
excuse to walk. And yeah, he was
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, I'm not about that, but I try to get my 12,000 a
Maddie,
day.
how are you about wife swapping?
Well, I saw that on the thing, and I remember that story, and it's a wild story. And what's even wilder is they swapped the kids too.
Right. It
That's
was
even
like a
crazy.
family swap. It wasn't
Yeah,
just
that
a
doesn't
wife
make any
swap. It was
sense.
such a 70s story too. So um basically this pitcher, Fritz Peterson, who has died this week, um, he traded his wives and children with 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 his teammate. I don't know how to pronounce the teammate's name here.
A wife to be later, to be named later.
A wife to be named later. Yeah, Mike Kekich
Yeah,
was the guy he did. They were just basically hanging out and they just sort of swapped wives one night, as you do.
that
And then
happens
they just
though.
decided that they were in love. And then, but so they basically, the husbands just moved places and uh, Fritz Peterson ended up staying with the lady for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, didn't last that long.
Well,
Afterwards.
some trades are meant to be like
Yeah.
a team trades for a guy, and he spends 20 years there, and the other guy he gets cut after a year.
Well, that's what happened too, because the other guy was like cut shortly thereafter from the team, and then he had to go play in Japan. So I'm sure that maybe had an issue
Yeah.
with keeping.
One of the weirdest stories out there, though.
I know that is it's so 70s. It's unbelievable too. There are rumors too that the NFL is basically going to move to 18 games sooner than later, probably within the next couple.
Insane, but there's just
No,
so
what they'll
much
do is
money.
probably just cut a preseason game again
Yeah,
instead
they're
of
gonna do 2 preseason games.
which, please, that's fine by me. I don't.
And the other thing is like, if they're gonna do the stuff with the helmets, now they're gonna you can wear the protection on the helmets. I mean, it's probably
Yeah.
a little safer. I don't know about the body, the wear and tear. But I think there's just so much money, and they're probably getting they're playing in Brazil this year, so they're probably getting offers to play everywhere, and it's like, you're kind of like, how many more $1 billion do you need to where you're actually hurting your players, though?
Well, that you would have to see a severe uptick in specific injuries or something like that before they would maybe decide to roll back a game or two.
Mm-hmm.
But no, if I've learned one thing, people will do anything to make more money. There's more. Even like if I had one of these person's salary for 1 year, I would be happy retired and just doing exactly what the fuck I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah. The season goes fast.
Yeah.
It goes really fast.
It does. It does. Yeah, so it's going to happen sooner or later. I mean, they'll find a way to make it a 25 game season at some point. They just will. I don't know how, but they will.
Eventually, because once you add a game, you can't take it back.
Then college is going to get more games too.
What's that?
College will get more games.
It will. And I wouldn't be surprised to see if it does or when it does, if you see scholarship and roster sizes get bigger too.
Speaking of college, it is there's a lot of rumors with the SEC and Big Ten this season or this offseason here. And basically it's sounding like they are almost going to just split off from the NCAA at some point. They're already talking about doing a revenue sharing system with the students, which is now they've been getting
Wow.
paid through NIL. This way they'd be getting paid directly through the school. So this is really going to be the end to any outlier schools, I think.
Well,
You
they
know?
become professionals too.
Well, yeah, then I mean, that's legit pros. Yeah.
How much do you think like that girl who played at LSU, Haley Van Lil, she's going to LSU, or no, she's going to TCU. How much do you think she made this summer? How much do you think for getting schooled by Caitlin Clark, where she just got absolutely destroyed by Caitlin Clark? I guarantee just because of the way she looks, probably 3 mil, 4 mil.
What's her
Well,
name?
you can get that. I mean, there's that
Haley
gymnast.
Van Lils, I think. Jim's the Mr.
I'll look it up.
Yes. Get on
There's a
it.
couple gymnasts that are like good and stuff too that make a lot of money because they're hot.
Oh yeah, the girl in LSU is the
Yeah,
highest. She's
but I think they
making
are
like-
legit. She's legit good though too.
She's
But,
also,
like,
yeah, I think she's an Olympic gymnast.
yeah, but
they're making some good dough. These athletes.
could you picture like Mary Lou Retton, like bending over on camera?
No,
This poor lady, by the way, this was a time when Olympic athletes couldn't make any money either.
yeah.
This lady captivated American hearts, and now she has to do a GoFundMe for her cancer
Well, she
treatment.
was on
right
the
now.
Wheaties box.
I don't even know
I
if
mean,
she
it was
got paid for that too.
It was
you know?
a different time. Like they weren't seen as like, and the thing is like, so that was 1984. I was an 8-year-old little boy. I never found her like pretty. She was just
No,
so
she was, but
skinny.
like in
She
this
was like
day and age,
emaciated.
everybody is incentivized to be sexualized because
Absolutely.
you make money that way.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. The reason why the WNBA is about to explode, which it will, in college basketball, is because the girls are very attractive.
I don't know.
I'm just calling it like I see it.
I don't.
Only
I get on there and I don't. I guess I don't see that the way you like. I don't find. You have like really pretty girls like Angel Reese, but I don't remember anybody else that like stood out to me.
I'm having Jim look up a girl right now.
I'm looking it up, Maddie. No, you
Come
didn't
on,
give me the
Jimmy, get to
Maddie.
it.
You did not give me the full name.
I probably gave you the wrong name. Just look up LSU transfer.
Yeah, it's Haley Van Lilith.
That's what I said.
You did not say that. You did not
Yes,
say
I
that.
fucking did.
I don't believe you.
Roll the tape
Hey,
back.
Maddie, stop gaslighting Jim. You didn't
Let's
say
go
it.
to the replay.
You don't know what. No, you would lose. You would lose.
We reviewed the tape, and Maddie
No.
said Haley Van Lil. Jim is penalized 15 yards.
All right. Speaking of losers, the Angels lost Mike Trout today.
$500,000, Maddie. She has a half a mil NIL valuation
That's
with
bullshit.
LaCroix.
Good for her.
I heard
Good
she
for
got
her.
paid $1 million to have sex with a rich lawyer in California, but that's on the DL.
Maddie, don't make shit up. We're going to get
Allegedly.
sued for defamation
gonna
of
get
character,
sued, yeah.
slander. So yeah, like I said, Mike Trout out with a torn meniscus. He's done for the year. Angels weren't going to make the playoffs anyway. Like, this is sad. Mike Trout is going to go his whole career and just not get anywhere with this team.
Baseball is the one sport that like one guy can't make an impact.
Right. But this is cruel for the rest of us. We should all be getting to enjoy him and everything. And now
Well,
he's
I'm
hitting
shocked the Yankees never made a trade for him. Or the
Yeah.
Phillies. He's a Philly guy. He's an East Coast guy. Nobody ever made a trade for him.
No. It's so disheartening though. It really is. What else? No, that's it. That's all I got for
Are we
regular
heading to
sports
the-
today.
To the dark side.
Yeah, we're taking that trip right now, motherfucker.
Marijuana, uppers, mollies, downers, quaaludes, cocaine. We got into some pretty heated discussions about it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about sensational Sherri Martell,
Mm-hmm.
Dark Side of the Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Maddie, when I knew her, I think I was a little young, so I really only knew her as Scary Sherri.
Yeah,
at
I
the
don't.
beginning.
I can't remember her wrestling as a woman. I do remember as a valet,
Yeah.
but I very, very clearly
A manager, not just a valet, a manager.
Yeah, but she was Macho Man, then $1 Million Man, and she was a great bad guy manager. She obviously made herself less attractive, but she had a smoke show body
Yes.
and didn't get the credit she was. But you'll go into that. I don't want to. You got mad at me last week for jumping.
That's right.
The
Don't
guns.
make me mad, Maddie.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was really awesome. Another one I'm glad I got to see and kind of look back and see like how talented she really was, especially
Yes.
on the mic and as an entertainer.
And the bumps.
And the bump. She would take them like the boys.
Off
No
the
doubt.
ring and in the ring.
Off the ring, out of the ring, in the ring, beside the ring, under the ring.
Yes.
So she grew up with a single mom who would bring her to wrestling matches. And
Cool mom.
Right? How cool. She just fell in love with wrestling and fell in love with a guy named Jake the Snake Roberts, who was a wrestling referee. She was just 17.
Who's Jake the Snake?
What's that?
He's been in a lot of these Dark Side.
Yeah, he has. Definitely.
Cute couple.
It was a cute couple, and they both sort of had similar, very hard backgrounds.
Very
and
hard
they both
background.
loved wrestling, and wrestling was their escape. I don't think that lasted too long, but they still became lifelong friends.
Mm-hmm.
She marries a guy named Leroy Gonzalez while she was working as a stripper in New Orleans. And she met because he was like a waiter, and she calls him over at this table she was sitting, and he's like, there's a roach in my table, and in my booth. And he's like, oh, I'd love to be that roach.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a hot thing to say. So hot, she invited him over to watch him strip at the club, and then married him shortly thereafter. Gave birth to a young boy.
He was very strange.
Split and left the family to go wrestling. You guys know anybody that happened to growing up?
No, but I think there was a time at that time it was more like if you have a dream, you go for it, no matter what the circumstances are. It was a thing where like you have a crazy dream, you only live once, you fucking go for it.
Yes, so she just told her husband, like, I want to wrestle, and he laughed at her. Just fucking laughed at her. So she split, and then he tried to get a private eye detective to find her. One day he was out at the ATM, and like 3 biker dudes come up to him and go, leave Sherri alone.
Yeah.
And he left her alone after that. And she did visit her son and tried to see him as much as she could, but her life was on the road. She ended up moving to Memphis, Tennessee, walks into a wrestling school, and this was the reaction.
And I went to a school that Butch and Moore had in Memphis. I told him I wanted to learn how to wrestle. He got up, and he slapped the living hell out of me. And at that point, I looked at him and I said, is that all you've got?
And here's what Cornette had to say about it.
There you go. Outlaw wrestler. Here, let me slap you and see if you're tough at it. What the is that? I would have been interested to see if she slapped him back if he could handle it.
Yeah. So Cornette, as usual, sorry, these sound like they're playing a little quiet today, but
No, it was good.
that was good.
He's tired. He's all the heat on his face.
So she got trained up for about a year, heads to Jake the Snake's dad, I think.
Yeah, Grizzly.
And Grizzly Smith, great guy.
He's back in the picture.
He's back. God, luckily she was too old for him.
That's what they said.
Because as we discovered on Jake the Snake's episode, he was not a great guy and liked him young. He sent her to go train with the Fabulous Moolah. And yes, we've done an episode on Fabulous Moolah too.
We sure
Sherri
did.
tried, but liked to party a little too much. And Moolah booted her. It was Moolah's way or the highway. Ends up wrestling at the AWA with Vern Gagne in Minnesota. and even became the first person Jim Cornette ever managed.
You know, when I
Something
saw
like
the
that.
footage of them together, I feel like Cornette was a little virgin wrestling
Right.
fan and manager, and I could see his little pecker would get hard thinking of Sherri. You could just tell he probably was like, he probably told his boy, I got a crush on her. I'm going to tell her. And he probably never did.
He was just probably like just slapping his cock with his tennis racket, thinking about her.
I don't even think he would. He's the type of guy who was too afraid to masturbate. Like he'd think it was a sin.
I could see
But
that
you
too.
could tell he was very smitten over her. And they were, I never saw them together, but the 30 seconds they show them together, it was
Right.
great.
It was funny
He
because
was
she was
great and she was great.
she was new. She was new to it. So while wrestling in Minnesota, she meets people like Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, and Jesse
Yeah.
Ventura, and they recommended her to Vincent McMahon. Gets the
Vincent K.
call.
McMahon.
Vincent K. McMahon gets the
Kennedy.
call up to the big time to the WWE, and she was just an instant hit. The other
Mhm.
wrestlers loved her as she would take any bump, and after the
Yeah.
show, she would party with the boys hard.
Yeah.
So everybody respected her. And then she became a fantastic manager with Macho Man. Really rose to fame while being a manager. Just great antics. As
I think one of the best moments and what made her great was when Macho Man he let like Elizabeth kind of quit for a while and he became a bad guy. So she became his manager. And then what they did was Macho Man lost and she came back because Sherri was blaming Macho Man for losing. And then
Mhm.
she comes in and she has to hit Sherri. And that was like,
oh yeah,
that was just brilliant. That's like when the
I
writers were
remember
at their
that
A
too.
game.
I was mad. I'm like, that little waif Elizabeth can't.
Well, it's
punch
so
anybody.
obvious, but like,
Right.
you know, when you're 12 years old, it's like, here she comes back. She hasn't been
Yeah.
around in 2 years, and she's here to
No.
protect her man.
Absolute killer angle for
And
sure.
Sherri takes the bump, you know.
Yeah. No, my favorite was when we talked about this off camera too, is when
Yeah,
Ultimate Warrior gorilla pressed her over the ropes into
Yeah.
Macho.
Well, there's also a really wild video where Ultimate Warrior's doing an interview, and she's like trying to seduce him. She's like, Ultimate. And he's like, you can see he's kind of like trying to do the acting like he's being turned on. And it's so fucking bizarre because he's so steroided up in his little jockey bathing suit. And she's like, it's just one of those weird 80s things that like only the 80s, man.
Yeah.
It might have
It
been
was a
90
trip.
or 91, but it was good. It was good stuff. And another thing too, when we were kids, we always thought she was her brother was the model Rick Martel, but there's no connection between them.
Is that weren't they?
He's from Canada.
Oh. Yeah.
He was
You're
a big
right.
star with Dino Bravo in like Montreal.
Yeah, no, you're right. They weren't related. Yeah, I think forever I thought they had been married or something briefly.
Right? I always thought they were brother and sister, but there's no connection.
Yeah, no, how bizarre. Anyway, yeah, so she was a big hit, and unfortunately, around this time too, then the WWE was getting popped for steroids and things like
Mhm.
that, so they had to crack down and start drug testing. Unfortunately, she was living that wrestler lifestyle and
Mhm.
using an assorted amount of drugs, but ultimately got kicked out for marijuana, which is probably legal
Bullshit.
now in
Yeah.
wrestling. So that
mean,
sent
that's
her
what
on
the-
a, what's that, Maddie?
Well, it's just funny that marijuana is so mainstream now that they would probably recommend it to the wrestlers because
Yeah,
it's
it's weird too,
legal.
given how like that clip I played at the beginning
Yeah.
talked about how much other shit she would use.
I was
too.
gonna
What-
say, I bet like out of everything she was on, marijuana was probably like the safest thing
course.
she had in her body.
And
Yeah.
it was just a way to fire her because they kept wrestlers they knew were on drugs, or they kept Jimmy Snuka, who murdered
Right.
a woman, which is cool, but like she tests positive for marijuana. They wanted to get rid of her.
No, it was a trip because it's like okay, who's can make us money right now? This person probably doesn't have much heat. So we'll get rid of them. We'll show the world that we're doing something to keep the wrestlers safe and the industry safe and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So she was definitely a sacrifice. That
They're
was
also
pointed.
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was pointed out in the documentary too by
Yeah.
her friend, who was like, they were letting all these male wrestlers that were very much known to be users stay while they booted her. So
And I think they only saw a few women in the company. So if they're bringing in Sunny,
yeah,
skipping Sunny, they're like, okay, we're gonna phase her out. Like they even phased Bobby the Brain out to bring in Cornette. So like they did that. Like it's like
and
Patriot
by the way,
mentality.
Cornette is about 100 times better in these interviews than he was as a personality in the WWE.
He didn't work. He just did not
No,
work.
he didn't. He really had a little bit. He was kind of a heel, but then he would. It was kind of a real corny heel. It wasn't that good.
No.
It's too bad they couldn't have let him go uncensored, like if he was hit his prime during the Attitude Era or something like that.
Yes.
But and then because we all see what he could
just
do
didn't
on the
work.
mic now when he's just doing a shoot. But yeah, so yeah, that's stupid as fuck because Bobby the Brain's one of the best entertainers ever, especially in the WWE. So then after that, she was fired. Bischoff hired her in WCW, and she started off okay with Harlem Heat with Booker T and Stevie Ray, and then she helped bring them kind of into the limelight. They were unknown. She was very known, and unfortunately, the drugs were hurting her work, and she was not performing well. So Bischoff let her go. Again, she gets let go. And then she's out of options at that point because it was a duopoly. Back then, there wasn't much more for her to do. She
I
marries
think
a fan.
ECW was kind of starting, but I don't think ECW ever took her.
Yeah. I don't know. She might have been getting too far gone too. By that point. She married a fan and was still unemployed, and it wasn't working very well. But then she gets called to be inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame. I always love these, though. It's real touching because you see how much it means to these people.
Absolutely.
But also, they pointed out that for her, she felt she could still perform, but unfortunately, she felt this meant it was completely over.
Yeah.
Then there were rumors that the WWE was going to bring her back to train wrestlers, which would have been really good because she could do both. She could do the wrestling and the mic work, but unfortunately she ended up passing away from a drug overdose. Not sure how old she was, but one of the saddest things too was her son, who only got to see her sparingly growing up. He still loved her, even though she basically put him on the back burner to pursue her dreams.
It did seem like he has a lovely stepmom, which they showed at the end of the video.
Was it the stepmom or her? I think it was Sherri's friend that kind of helped raise him.
I thought it was the new stepmom, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, well, I know Sherri's friend also helped raise him, but if anybody out there watches this, they'll see that the son is, who in early clips was a big dude and looked like he could definitely be a wrestler himself. Unfortunately, he's suffering some health issues and is about 90 pounds. And I think he's had part of his tongue cut off because he was very unintelligible at many points.
There's a guy in the Dabbleverse named the Quad Father, who is unfortunately a paraplegic, who talks a little. He's doing better than this guy, but he reminds me of the Quad Father, which is never a good thing.
Oh God, yeah.
He's stuttering John's new co-host, the Quad Father.
Oh boy.
John said he was going to get A-listers on his show, but instead he's got a Proud Boy from Oregon as his co-host named the Quad Father.
Proud Boy?
He's a Proud Boy, but he's a proud Democrat, John. But he has no friends, so his only friend now is the Quad Father.
For those of you out there seeking context, I unfortunately can't give it to you.
I also cannot give it to you.
Can I send the link to the Quad Father this week?
You can send it. I mean, sure. Maddie, so I follow someone on Twitter now who's also very into the Dabbleverse.
Okay.
And I just get like no context tweets about that like throughout the day. It's hilarious.
Well, I can give you Dabbleverse 101. Kate Meany
Okay.
Just her nudes were exposed. She had sex with Jeremy Piven, and allegedly she had sex with a. That's why I said the California lawyer for $20,000. A Dabbleverse fan had sex with her.
This is all alleged, according to
Alleged
Chad Zumach.
in the Dabbleverse.
In the
And
Dabbleverse.
Hackamania, I will be there in Vegas. I hope you come, Jim. But you said you'll be at the UFL Championship, which is garbage. I hope Luke joins me.
UFL.
He's
Old
probably mad at
Jim, you know,
me.
I just realized that I'm on the wrong subreddit now because I still got I'm on the XFL subreddit, and when
Yeah,
I go to my
yeah.
sports feed, I just am. Why do I always get these 2-month-old XFL the same shit? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's the new name.
United Football League, baby.
Yeah.
Is it just under RUFL or is it?
No,
what's
it's
it under?
because UFL something different. I think it's r/United Football League, I believe.
Okay, I'll find it though. But I just realized the errors on my way. Jim,
Who
any?
is this person, Jim?
By the way, it was a nice episode. Just to wrap that up.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen Sherri Martel, definitely look her up. It is some really good work. And
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like the show gave her justice because yes, there's some stuff that like, oh, she wasn't really there for her son, but as far as her as a wrestler and in the business,
Yeah.
she's loved and respected and revered as one of the most important people. At a time where women, it was also a tough time because they went from wrestlers to like strippers, like McMahon.
Yeah, that was like, I mean, you just can't compete with Tori Wilson. Sorry.
and
It's,
Stacy Keibler.
oh
and,
my God.
and
These
fucking
girls are so hot.
Sable and Vince.
Oh,
What I heard, Vince loves Sable. Like he was like into wrestling, but oh, that's Sable.
God, she was so like, she was really hot, but then like her boobs were too big for her body. And
Not
just,
not
like,
my cup of tea. I never
no,
found
you
her
get like
attractive or
the
interesting.
problem. Here's the biggest problem with big fake boobs is you get that skin stretch around the base of the boob where the
Yeah.
boob meets the chest, and it just looks gnarly. I'm sorry.
And then it gets to a problem where like when they did the Luna Vachon episode where it's like Luna is a real trained wrestler who's put 30 years in the business, who deserves to be a champion, whether she's
Yeah.
a good guy or bad guy. And they're like, okay, we're gonna do this shit with Sable where she beats the shit out of you and she doesn't know how to do anything, and you're basically making everything look good, and she gets all the credit.
Yeah, no, it's a rough business for sure.
Yes.
It's like when Maddie gets bumped for Jeremy Piven at the local comedy spot, you know.
Sure. Who
When
had
they put in
sex
the-
allegedly with Kate Meany, part of the Dabbleverse, who John is in love with.
Okay, Jim, you got any UFL news before we split?
We're at the halfway point, boys, and teams have definitely separated. It's looking like we're on a trajectory for a St. Louis Battlehawks versus Birmingham Stallions championship. That's what it's
You
looking
heard it
like.
here.
Adrian
maybe first?
Martinez going off. He
I don't
leads
know.
the league in rushing.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah.
And rushing?
Is he a running back or
No, he's a quarterback. He's also only played 3 games.
He sure couldn't do anything in Nebraska.
Didn't he have another year left of eligibility?
At K-State was his last year.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he played another year at K-State.
He was
Him and Bo
there.
Nix are,
So last year
50 years old.
was his last year. Not 23. The year before, I believe, was his last year.
Okay.
And before you go, these games are great. Orlando leads Cleveland 59-57. Bruins, Maple Leafs tied at 1. Islanders, Canes tied at 3. And the Knicks and the Sixers are like within a point in the last quarter.
They're going to
All
overtime,
4
Maddie.
close
They're
games.
Knicks Sixers is going to OT.
Insane night.
Well, you guys watch the sports. I'm going to go watch a movie about a 8-year-old vampire that eats a bunch of robbers, I guess.
And next
Nice.
week is the Sandman.
Yeah,
What a way to
Sandman.
end.
Looking forward to that next week for the
Can't
season
wait.
finale. Oh, Dark Side of the Ring.
It's
So
already
stay
the season
tuned.
finale.
Yeah, time
Yeah,
goes fast,
it's only
Jim.
like 8
That-
episodes,
That
unfortunately.
blew by.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Time flies, Jimmy. Especially during the UFL season. Time flies.
Well,
dog.
it got us through to the second round of the NBA playoffs at least.
Then we'll
So
be talking college and NFL real football.
Oh, yeah, we
Mhm.
didn't talk any spring games, guys.
Uh,
oh, who gives a shit?
Look at Jimmy.
Yeah.
I love him. He's got the shirt open. He's,
Oh yeah, he's
I'm
on
loving
that
life, dude.
beach.
Dude,
on the
Dude,
beaches of Grand
My
Island.
Nebraska spring game was awesome. Okay, I'm living the life. It was great.
How was the new quarterback, real fast?
Dylan Rayo looks so fucking good.
Good.
He
Give
looks
you a
so
shout out.
good.
What is he's just a freshman, right?
Yeah, true
Yeah.
freshman.
True freshman. Well, good for you, man. I hope it pans out, and I hope you guys have.
God,
a
I
good
hope so.
season this.
All right, boys.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week for another edition, including the Sandman, the Sports.
Holding your
Bye-bye.
pillow tight.